In the Dragon Ball franchise, Goku, our main character, possesses many powerful abilities. He can manipulate Ki, a powerful energy source which grants him super speed, super strength, as well as the ability to fly and fire energy blasts like the Kamehameha. And these abilities have allowed him to combat and defeat many powerful opponents along the way. However, while most of Goku's friends and family can also utilize these abilities, Goku also has incredibly helpful techniques which they do not. One such ability, which I've gone into in a previous video, is the Kaioken, which allows Goku to increase his powers many-fold beyond their limits. However, in this video, I want to focus on another ability of Goku's, which allows him to travel extreme distances in an instant. That is Goku's ability to teleport, which is known as the Shunkan Ido in the Japanese, and the instant transmission in the English dub. But why don't the other Z fighters know how to use this spectacular ability? And how could they utilize it if they did? Well, in this video, I'm going to break that down. Hey guys, it's Mike here, and before the video begins, I want to tell you about my new channel, Laughingstock Cinema. On there, I talk about movies as well as live-action TV shows. And I do this in discussions, reviews, top lists, and theory videos. So if you're interested in hearing me discuss these topics, check out Laughingstock Cinema down below in the description as well as the end screen of this video. Now, when it comes to Goku's friends not knowing how to use the ability to teleport, I think it may come down to circumstances, and specifically the circumstance by which Goku first learned the move. As Goku was battling the galactic tyrant Frieza, he achieved the legendary transformation of Super Saiyan, which allowed him to overcome and defeat Frieza. However, as Frieza realized he was outmatched, he blasted planet Namek and set off a chain reaction which would destroy the planet. And as the moments ticked down and the planet was nearing its destruction, Goku had no way of escaping. That is, until he discovered a Ginyu Force space pod and quickly jumped inside, hitting the panel which activated it and carried him to safety. However, the space pod would not go to Earth, but rather to another planet known as Yardrat. And we would later discover that the reason the space pod traveled there is that the Ginyu Force was planning to attack Yardrat. But thankfully, the Yardratian people were friendly, as they allowed Goku to live among them. But even more interesting is that according to Goku, the Yardratians possessed a number of interesting techniques. However, Goku stated that he only had time to learn one, which was the ability to teleport. So clearly, none of the other Z fighters have ever traveled to Yardrat, as they didn't go with Goku on the original trip and the series hasn't revisited the world since. Now of course, since Goku could teleport to almost anywhere in the universe, and even to other dimensions like Otherworld, he could theoretically teleport his friends to Yardrat so that they too could learn this ability. However, they may also not need to travel to the world themselves, since Goku could potentially just teach them himself. However, one of the biggest detriments here to learning the move would likely be the length it takes to attain and master the ability. And from what Goku said upon returning to Earth, in addition to learning how to become a Super Saiyan at will, he only had time while he was on Yardrat to learn the instant transmission. So the question becomes, how long was Goku on Yardrat? And the story points to a lengthy period of time. As in the time following the destruction of Namek, the Namekian people relocated to living on Earth. During this period of time, Mori became the Grand Elder of the Namekians, and the Dragon Balls were reactivated. Those on Earth were able to use the Namekian Dragon Balls twice, which they used to bring back the fallen Z fighters like Yamcha, Krillin, and Tien. Now just like with the Earth Dragon Balls, after they're used, the Namekian Balls must wait a year before they can recharge and be used again. However, these Dragon Balls go by the Namekian year, which equals 130 days on Earth. So this means that in using the Namekian Dragon Balls twice, 260 days passed during this time. However, after this, the manga states that another year passes, and that is the same day that Frieza shows up with his father King Cold, is killed by Trunks, and Goku arrives from Yardrat. So when we add all this time up, it means that Goku is gone for approximately 1 year, 260 days. Now in the anime, this seems to be somewhat different with the time being shorter, but in the original manga, this is the length of time given. Now we also have to factor in how much time it took Goku to reach Yardrat from Namek, as well as how long it took Goku to return to the Earth from Yardrat. And based on the evidence, I don't believe that he spent the majority of his time traveling, as if we remember, it took Kami's Namekian ship roughly 1 month to reach Namek from Earth. However, we know that Frieza's ships are actually much faster than this, as it only took Goku 6 days in his retrofitted Saiyan space pod to reach Namek from the Earth. Additionally, Goku is using a top-of-the-line space pod that was used by the Ginyu Force when he made his escape from Namek to Yardrat, and then back to the Earth. So this ship could have been even faster. However, the biggest piece of evidence that Goku's trip may have been shorter is the wish made to bring Goku back with the Namekian Dragon Balls, as after only 130 days had passed, Purunga stated that Goku is not only alive, but didn't want to return to the Earth yet, and in time would return on his own. So it's likely that Goku was already on Yardrat training to learn the instant transmission by this point, as I doubt an unconscious Goku locked into cryosleep could reject this offer or form such thoughts, as he didn't even know where the spacecraft was taking him. It could have been flying him directly into a star for all he would have known. So this means, at the most, it took Goku 130 days to reach Yardrat. And while we don't know for sure the distance between Yardrat and Namek, as they could be close by or a great distance apart, if we assume it's the same distance that it would have taken to get from Earth to Namek, just in the opposite direction, then this would likely take about 1 to 2 months of travel total, assuming the space pod is at least on par with Goku's ship, which means that Goku would have been on Yardrat for at least a year, unless he was making random stops that he never told anyone about. So learning a technique that could potentially take over 1 year to learn is a big commitment. And definitely if the Z Fighters would have to travel to another planet to learn it. And while learning the move on Earth from Goku would be easier, it's possible that it requires constant training, which would still be a massive inconvenience. However, there is one way to cut down on that time, and that is by taking advantage of the hyperbolic time chamber or room of spirit and time. And as I elaborated on in my video, why don't the other Z Fighters use the time chamber anymore? This room is really a solution that Dragon Ball continues to ignore for all those not named Goku and Vegeta, as it's proven time and time again to be a training location that can result in large gains in a short period of time, as a single day on Earth is 1 year inside of the chamber. And it would be easy and make perfect sense for Goku to simply take his friends into the chamber and show them how to use this ability. And considering that threats keep showing up that involve the humans, and despite their age they continue to surpass their limits, it makes perfect sense for them to go into the chamber and improve not only their power, but also their repertoire of abilities by learning the instant transmission. And just think of how the instant transmission could help out Goku's friends, as most of them, such as the humans, are not on his level physically, or capable of doing battle with characters that pose a threat to Goku. However, if they have the ability to teleport, they instantly become more dangerous. Krillin, for instance, could teleport in front of an enemy and use the solar flare on them, which would blind them, and then he could additionally use it to create a Destructo Disc and throw it at his enemies who are caught off guard. Tien could also use the ability and combine it with his Tri-Beam. Imagine him teleporting all around his enemy by using the rapid-fire Neo Tri-Beam, or charging up a full-power Tri-Beam and then taking a page out of Goku's book and using a Warp Tri-Beam, which at such a close proximity could be very deadly. And just imagine if Piccolo could teleport while charging up his Special Beam Cannon. This would all but remove his vulnerability while using this move, and allow him to also use his own warp version of it. So this technique would be another incredibly helpful ability that, if used correctly, and more importantly written correctly, could help level the playing field in a logical way. However, as we know, only Goku and the Yardratians know this move, while Kid Buu and the Supreme Kais know a different version of it not bound by similar limitations. And while some may argue that many of these characters couldn't learn this ability, there's nothing I've seen to indicate this possibility. If anything, some characters should already know this move, such as Gohan, Piccolo, and Vegeta. After all, Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo trained together for 3 years before the androids came, which was after Yardrat and was more than enough time for him to have taught them his numerous techniques. Gohan additionally trained for another year with Goku in the Time Chamber, during which he taught Gohan how to become a Super Saiyan and master the form. Yet Goku didn't teach Gohan the ability to teleport here either. And of course, with Vegeta, Goku and he trained for years together in Super, including 3 years of constant training in the Time Chamber together. So you're telling me that Vegeta never even attempted to learn this move, yet spent 3 whole years training together with Goku? At that point, and after all of these other examples, the out-of-universe answer becomes more apparent. Just like with why Goku or King Kai never taught anyone the Kaioken or Spirit Bomb, it's likely that Toriyama and those behind Dragon Ball simply wanted Goku to have cool abilities that no one else has. Certainly, all of these fighters are more than capable of learning these techniques, and they continue to demonstrate how great their potential and power is by growing stronger and stronger with each new series. But Goku is the main character. He's always presented as stronger than the others, or always is made to look better in the end. So he's the only one on his team who gets to amp his power many times with the Kaioken, teleport wherever the writers designate with his instant transmission, or hit the ultimate antagonist with a cool move like the Spirit Bomb. And this is a little disappointing, as a single person having this ability limits its potential and all the cool things they can do with it. And it would be awesome to see many of our other characters use it in new, different ways that could make them relevant. But ultimately, that's just not how this series has been written thus far. Perhaps there's a chance we'll see abilities like the instant transmission make their way to other members of the main cast in the future, but that's just something we're all going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, and you better subscribe, enable those damn notifications.